Welcome to this talk on study abroad. I am Kshitij Verma, the General Secretary of the Student Council, and today we have an alumnus of MIT, Mr. Srikar Prithvi Chinam, from the Industrial Production Engineering batch of 2014. His alma mater also includes Columbia University, where he pursued MSc in Management Science and Engineering. He is currently being absorbed by McKinsey's New York office as a business analyst. I would like to call him on stage. He's already on stage. I believe that his insights will be useful to us all present here. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, the auditorium is full, people sitting on the stairs. It's a lot of pressure on me right now. Well, 2 years ago, I'll be sitting with you guys. Well, I'm excited that I can help you guys, inspire you all, and tell you more about how I went about things. So, the agenda of this presentation is threefold. One is I want to explain what understanding success means, and then I want to tell you about my journey from Manipal to New York City. And then lastly, I'll leave it open to, that's what your parents always tell you, right? You have to be successful one day. But what does it mean? And the questions reeling in your mind are, what should I be doing now? Or if I'm doing something, am I doing it right? Well, it's super hard to answer that question, but I'll try to make it simple. So let's look at the long-term goal, right? Because if you have to be successful, what does that mean? Do you want to lead a company or a part of a company? You could be the CEO, or you could be a part of the senior executive team. Do you want to start a company? Do you want to be an entrepreneur? Do you want to do research? Get into R&D teams of big corporations like Intel? Or do you want to be a professor? So now in India, at least, these three are the main tracks of success, right? So what I'm trying to explain here is the approach you must have of how you set a goal and then break it down to pieces to understand what you should do now. So I'm going to use the first option to explain that approach. Let's say you want to get a job and you want to lead a company, you want to be the CEO, you want to take up a part of the business as senior vice president one day, or any senior executive position. Okay. Now, to lead a company, first you need to get a job at a company, and then you need to excel and grow in that company. Right? Now, everyone can relate to getting a job in a company, because that's something you all worry about in the near future. So let's look at the company's point of view, right? Now you want to get that job, and the company is wondering, why should I give you that job? So to understand that, you should understand now the goal of every company. What do you think is the goal of every company? Almost, say, 90% of the companies. What is the common underlying goal? Anyone? Sorry?
That it recruits people so that the company can grow.
Right, it grows. How does it grow? You're on the right track, but right, good. Make profit, right? That's the common underlying goal of every for-profit company. And how can you achieve? How can you help the company achieve its goal? Now, there's a simple equation for profit. What is that? To calculate profit? Sorry? Right, revenues minus costs, right? So if you have to increase the profits of the company, then you increase the revenues of the company, or you decrease the cost of the company. Right, now, the person who's trying to give you that job is trying to assess, is this candidate capable of increasing the revenues of my company or decreasing the cost of my company overall? Can he increase the profits of my company? So, for that to happen, what do you think they look for in potential candidates? could just raise your hand and try. Don't be scared, I won't hurt you. Yeah.
Innovation.
Okay, good. Yeah. Anything else?
Skills.
Good. Skills. What kind of skills?
Leadership.
Sure. Leadership skills. That's good.
Hardworking.
Good. Hardworking.
Dedication.
Dedication. Very good.
Loyalty.
Okay. What about knowledge? Like the industry knowledge. You need to know that, right? Like if you're a chemical engineer and you want to get into a chemical company, he's trying to test your knowledge too, right? Okay. What else? I think you hit the main points. So industry knowledge and technical skills, soft skills such as leadership, teamwork, communication, and motive and passion. So this is on a broad level. Now let's look at each one of them. So industry knowledge and technical skills, right? So now come back to your point of view. Many of you are confused, or at least when I was in Manipal here, a lot of my friends used to say, I don't know what I want to do, right? I don't know which industry I want to go to. I don't know what kind of job I want to have. So here's my answer, right? Spend some time trying to explore what's out there. And I'll tell you more about how I went about this in the next few slides. And what reflects industry knowledge and technical skills. And the first point, half of you are going to hate me, is GPA, right? It does matter. Yes, you could have a lesser GPA and you could still be amazing, but from the company side of you, how easy is it to find a person with great soft skills and great motive and passion amongst the pool of candidates who have good GPA versus how hard it is for a company to find a person with great soft skills and motive in a pool of people who have less GPA. It depends from branch to branch. I was in IP. It was pretty easy for me to get a good GPA. I'm sure if you're in computer science, you would be wondering why you're still not getting a good enough GPA, but of course that's all relative. What I'm saying is you need to have a relatively good GPA, and apart from that, if you have any projects, papers, and certifications, that's a great way of showing that you have a good background in that industry, a good set of knowledge in that industry. And soft skills, right? So when I was interviewing for McKinsey, they spent a lot of time on this. I had 5 rounds, each 1 hour, and there were breaks in between. So for more than 7 hours, I was at McKinsey's office, and after I got out of the office, I even slept on the train, which I was catching back home. So they ask you about, tell me about a time when you demonstrated leadership skills. Tell me about a time when you worked in a team and solved complicated problems. Now, when I went to Colombia, and my first interview with McKinsey was for the internship, summer internship, these are the questions they asked, and I was like, oh my god, I don't have great stories. So if you don't have great stories like me, I would say try to find teams, work together, take more initiative, and actually realize the power of working in teams and realize the beauty of taking initiative. And this one more question that's going to come up always scared me. Tell me about a time when you failed. Being Indian, for me, it was like, I will tell you how awesome I am. Ask me about anything. My GPA is stellar. I have amazing projects on my resume. I am the shining star you're looking for. And then they asked me this question. Tell me a time when you fail. And I'm like, I don't know. Let me think about it. I clearly screwed up my first interview with McKinsey, which was for a summer internship. I didn't make it. And So get conscious about all these soft skills. Think about the times you failed and think about what you should do about it and how you overcame those situations and never repeated such mistakes. And all these experiences, try to make it relevant to the company, to academics. I mean, say, it would be nicer for the HR said that, okay, I was working on, if you're a biomed engineer and you are interviewing with a biomed firm. So if you spoke about some some instances when you demonstrate teamwork, leadership skills in certain projects which were more biomed related, right? The HR can relate more to you, right? Try to have those stories. Lastly, motive and passion. So, if I hire you today, and if I have a problem tomorrow, will you take that additional mile to solve that problem? That's what they want to see. And how do you show that? It's very, very hard. It's very nice and easy to say that, oh, I am very passionate. I'm passionate about this. I'm motivated to do this. But how do you show it, right? So, say that, I took a course in EDX, in statistics, and which was conducted by University of Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley. And it said Berkeley X, a nice certificate, and I put that on my resume, and I said, okay, so this is something I did apart from my studies, right? I did side projects. I said, look, I am more passionate than any other candidate you can find. If you can get into competitions and win them, like if you're a computer science student, there's so many hackathons you can be part of. Go participate. See if you can even get a participation certificate. That means a lot to a company, that you are motivated, you are passionate, and you are taking initiatives. You have to be able to show that in writing. Okay, so now that I gave you a brief overview of what you should be doing right now to be successful, I'm going to talk about my journey. I'm going to tell you about the different steps I took to be successful so far, right? Okay, so this is what my dad asked me one day. It was in my second year, I think. Tell me what industrial engineering is. I had the worst possible answer. I was like, it's something similar to mechanical, but it's more about optimizing the shop floor and things like that. And my dad was like, shut up, go read and give me a good answer. So internet gave me answers. Wikipedia, YouTube, and US News showed me the best universities in industrial engineering. And I went on to their universities. I read about them. And I was trying to understand more about industrial engineering, but I still didn't have a good answer. Then I took help. I met a professor at ISB, that's the Indian School of Business, and she enlightened me what to look for. So I said, okay, these are the top universities I can find, and this is Georgia Tech, #1 in industrial engineering. But I still can't get a concrete understanding about what is industrial engineering, right? And what it has evolved into. I can speak for 1 hour about it, but if you ask me to tell it to me in 1 or 2 lines, I don't think I might. So she gave me this link, which leads you to the different fields under industrial engineering in Georgia Tech. And this in each row is the name of a faculty who specializes in what is kind of highlighted in each box. So this is what I did. I found that industrial engineering comprises so many different subtopics, right? There's health systems under industrial engineering, which I could never even imagine in my life. And there was simulation, there was stochastics, right? And I explored all these fields. I created a report. I said, okay, what is economic decision analysis? I wrote something about it. When you write something about it, you have to be clear. So when you just read, it's not doing you much of help. So write it. And then I had a very good idea about what industrial engineering is and what it has evolved into. Once I made my report, I looked at all the fields and I selected the fields I like. And once I selected them, I started hunting for a research project. Why? Because I was motivated, I was passionate, I wanted to explore more, I wanted to understand what's there. And then I started knocking on every professor's door in Manipal. I said, okay, this is my interest: simulation, optimization, supply chain, logistics. Do you have a project, or can you guide me on a project? Can you help me in any way? And one professor led me to another. They said, okay, maybe this person might be better suited. This person might be even better suited. And finally, system dynamics caught my eye. And yeah, that saying is beautiful. A well doesn't come in search of the thirsty, but the thirsty should seek the well. So that's what I did. And I met Professor Rodriguez, who's the HOD of Humanities. And he told me, he understood my interests, and he told me that why not look at system dynamics? And I loved it. And then I found roadmaps. Now, the person who invented system dynamics was from the original MIT, which is Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And he created a self-study guide to learn system dynamics, which was just PDFs, right? And it had 10 chapters and massive chapters. And once I realized that this is what I want to do, it was hard for me to spend those hours and learn what system dynamics is. But I did not give up. I think you guys have a 1.5 hour break, right, for lunch. I would go finish my lunch in 45 minutes, go to the library, study for 45 minutes. That's what I used to do. Well, don't call me a nerd, but call me passionate, right? And this was my project, right? This was the crazy model I made. And I made a paper out of it, and I presented my paper at the European Business Research Conference in Rome while I was still a student here at Manipal. Professor Rodriguez and I went to Rome. It was a wonderful experience. It was a great learning. And now, the question, MS or a job, right? I mean, MS and a job or a job. Those are the options, right? Now, whenever you're confused, whenever you need to decide, talk to 1 million people. That's my advice. Talk to as many people as possible. Talk to your professors, talk to your dad's friends, your mom's friends, talk to seniors, reach them out through the alumni network. Reach out to them through the alumni network. Use LinkedIn. And after doing that, I realized that specialization is bullshit. And I had a desire to learn what's happening, what's the latest in my field. Okay. Sorry. And I had a desire to learn from the best. The professors who taught me, they knew people who invented the theory in operations research, and their stories, their experiences, it was just amazing. And the feedback from many people who were working, I don't know, but a lot of people told me, just go for your MS. Because in India, you get good jobs, you get amazing jobs. But most of the time, it's about people telling us what to do. And it's not about what I want to do. Because India is a country where people outsource work too, right? Now, this could be wrong in several instances, but a lot of people told me that this could happen. Like, I know a friend who was a computer science student who went to Flipkart, who loves it, and he enjoys himself. He says the work is amazing. Now, it depends, right? But these were some of the factors that I used to prefer going for a master's over a job. Now, university selection. So first of all, US News rankings. I looked at what are the top 10, 20 universities in my field. And then I looked at what is the funding of that department which I'm interested in. I mean, each department, each professor in that department gets some research funding. You can get that on US News. And then I looked at the existing research. And then I looked at what I like in all of the universities, what research I like. And then you kind of categorize the universities to ambitious, moderate, and safe. And then you apply to a few of each. So the application process, I think many of you would know this, but you need to give your GRE and TOEFL. I would say if you're third-year students, start preparing right now and give the GRE and TOEFL as soon as possible so that you get enough time to work on your SOP, which is your statement of purpose. Now, your statement of purpose, I believe, is the key to your admission, to your application. But otherwise, the split is there, which many people believe. So the statement of purpose is basically a statement, which is an essay you're writing, to convey why you want to, what is the purpose that you want to study at that university. And you need to talk about all the experiences you've had that will back up your goal of why you want to study at that university. And it's something you need to pay a lot of attention to. And then your letters of recommendation. Again, a lot of people say that the better the qualification of the professor who gives me the letter of recommendation, the better my chances. No, you're wrong. You're clearly wrong. The better the content of that letter of recommendation and the better it matches and backs up your statement of purpose, the better your chances at getting that admission. And yeah, your GPA matters a lot. And then you have your other extracurricular activities. You have the side projects, and again, your statement of purpose will encompass the motive, the passion you have, and it should. At the end, if you have more questions about this, we can talk about it. Now, you will find a lot of education consulting groups trying to come and pitch. So you're going to spend 60 lakhs for your MS, and what we charge is less than 1%, which is 40,000 rupees or 50,000 rupees. And we will make sure that you make the right decision. Okay, they're full of crap. At least, I don't know one friend of mine who I used an education consulting service too, but I paid very less, and we all got the same service. Same kind of service. The friends who paid a lot of money to these companies, and once you pay them, they stop caring about you, right? But they act like they care about you. I don't know why I hate them so much, but they're expensive. They're very poor quality of statement of purpose. They will give you some generic statements of purpose. They will give you 50 of them and then say, go look at that. I took the opinion of several people I know. Again, my dad's friends, my mom's friends, my seniors, my people I know through LinkedIn, things like that. and they have a poor taste in university selection. So they basically have this very cool Excel spreadsheet, which will take in your GPA, which will take in how many projects you've done, which will take in which university you're from, and it will tell you what are the potential universities that you can apply to. Oh my God, don't even go for that. Think big, aim big, and try to get into good universities. Talk to professors who in institutions which are of your interest. Like, I sent emails to almost every professor in Stanford University, and so many of them got back to me. I mean, they get back to you. Try it. Send emails to professors to American or European universities. They will reply back to you very nicely. And take their advice and then work on your SOP or LORs and things like that. Okay, so my result, I got into Columbia University. I had 3 options. I got into Columbia, I got into Cornell, I got into Virginia Tech, and after a lot of discussion again, I chose Columbia University. My program was MS in Management Science and Engineering. We focused on 2 things, operations consulting and operations research, which I'm going to explain soon to you, briefly, because I understand not everyone is interested in what I study. Okay, so I go there and I'm all excited. I roll up my sleeves and I'm like, I'm going to Columbia University, and boom. It's a shock. That's my GPA. I was a 9-pointer here, and that is a very bad GPA. The diversity in class was insane. There were people from all over the world. There were very, very smart people from China who are like, oh my God, I wonder why I'm not as smart as them. And there are super confident people from France, and there are people from Denmark, Turkey, Lebanon. My classmates, my class size was 80 people, and there were people from more than 25 countries. And it was very intimidating. There were people with work experience. I didn't have any work experience. And then on the first day of class, my professor goes like, so there are 3 S's of graduate life. 1 is study, 1 is sleep, 1 is socialize. You can choose 2. And he recommended to choose study and socialize, not sleep. He said, I want you to work hard and play hard and not sleep. And I was super scared. I only used to start studying. And a funny story, my friend, she got into MS in computer science at Columbia University, and she had this call from one of her juniors, and the call was about, how is MS at Columbia University? How is MS in computer science? And this is what she said. If you have an option of getting an arranged marriage and coming to the US, take it. Don't even come here. It's horrible. But that same friend now graduated and now works for Microsoft in Seattle, making tons of money. Oof, oh my God. So, and she loves her job, and it's just the initial culture shock. So people think, okay, it's super cool to go to USA, do an MS. No, my friend. First of all, you have to study. You have all these kind of pressures, and then you have to wash your clothes, and then you have to wash your vessels, and oh my God, the list is never ending. Anyways, moving on. Then realization occurred, right? A change of approach towards studying. It's like, you know how I don't know if you got this advice in India. If you want to study math, solve as many problems as you can. And that advice was miserable because I was only solving. And I couldn't get it, right? And then I was like, okay, screw this. I took some help from some of the seniors, and I was like, okay, I tried to understand the concept. Right? I tried to understand why this is being done. And once I did that, I could solve any sum. It was not like I was seeing the solution and I was like, okay, one more sum done. Right? Sorry. And then my opinion changed towards my peers. I was considering all my classmates as a threat, which was a completely wrong idea because they were my help. They were an opportunity to learn something new. What I realized was I also knew so many things which they did not. And what is supposed to happen is a knowledge exchange. And tomorrow, once I graduate, I mean, I already graduated, all of us are going to take, all the 80 of us are going to take amazing positions in governments and big companies, and going to be entrepreneurs. And we should be proud of each other and be proud of our network. So yeah, a complete change of approach. Then time management, that 3 S's I told you, study, socialize, or sleep, that was a big lie. I hate my professor for doing that. Because it's all about time management. You can do all 3 of them as long as you manage your time properly. If you want to party, make sure you party hard, but in that particular window, right? And those people in New York know how to party, by the way. And when you're studying, you study really hard. There is no way that you're like, 1 page, 2 page, and then you're like checking your phone. No, you can't do that. What happened to me will happen to you. I mean, that's what I used to do in Manipal, like slowly study, take my own sweet time. You cannot do that there. You really cannot. All right, I started reading the Wall Street Journal, which is the newspaper there, the New York Times, and I subscribed to The Economist, read things from different companies, like BCG has its BCG's perspective. This kind of broadened my horizon. And if you haven't already started reading, I would highly recommend you do so. It gives you great number of ideas to have conversations, and sensible conversations. And giving positive feedback. I feel again it's an Indian thing. Like when someone says something, you're always thinking, okay, why could this be wrong? And how you want to like kind of say, okay, maybe it could be better, like, you know. And then when I had this attitude, I was like, maybe it could be better, maybe we could do something else. And then people go like, okay, really? What? Like what? And I was like, I don't know. They're like, okay, until and unless you have a better idea, we're going with this. And I'm like, okay, shit. So, and whenever I presented something, this is how people used to say if it sucked. Really good work, Srikar. That's amazing. But think about this, right? So the way you say that you suck is again beautiful, right? It was a wonderful learning for me, right? This is all a change of approach for me. And then my second semester GPA, I got a 4 on 4. So what I'm trying to tell you right now is, whatever you're doing now, the chill life you're having, try to stop it. Try hard. All this matters. Okay, so now I'm gonna quickly tell you what I do. So my program is MS in Management Science and Engineering. The 2 things we do, one is operations consulting, which is problem solving, and the other one is operations research, which is problem solving through crazy math. So operations consulting is basically you defining the problem. What is the problem? So you didn't realize it, but this is how I thought. But the way I told you was it like an any ordinary story, right? So you define the problem. So what is the problem? How do I be successful? And then you structure the problem, break it into components, right? And then you gather data if necessary. In this case, I don't think so much data wasn't required, and then presentation and telling the story. These are wonderful learnings, especially if you want to be a consultant like me. You need to know how to have structured thinking. And this is what structured thinking looks like. This is the same exact points I already told you. Okay, let's move to operations research. Professor KJ Kamath is here. He taught me operations research when I was in my 3rd year. And he was nothing but an inspiration. I really enjoyed his classes, and that drove me to take this program. So I'm going to give you a simple example. So you want to manufacture 2 products. You're a manufacturing company, and that's product 1, that's product 2, and you have 3 plants that the product has to go in. So product 1 has to spend 1 hour in plant 1 and 3 hours in plant 3. Whereas product 2 has to spend 2 hours in plant 2 and 2 hours in plant 3. And then you have a limit on how many hours you have in each plant. And then you also have the profit each product can make, right? Now you want to decide how many products of product 1 should I manufacture, how many products of product 2 should I manufacture, right? So X1 and X2, let them signify how many products of 1 and 2 you should manufacture. Now what you want to do is you want to maximize your profit. Your profit is nothing but profit per batch is 3,000 and 5,000, so you just multiply 3x1 and 5x1. And then your constraints that you're just multiplying x1, x2 to that center matrix and then putting it less than that. That's pretty much it. So every operations research, every linear programming problem is generally defined this way. You have an objective function. What is your objective? I want to maximize profits. Then under what constraints? So this is how you do, this is how you use operations research. And now this world is moving into predictive analytics. Now, what is predictive analytics? You go onto Google, you search for some things, and based on your search history, now it's showing you ads. How is it able to do that? It's using all the data you've ever searched for, and it's trying to predict what ad to show you to maximize its revenue, right? And then you have, think about your credit card company. Credit card company, the biggest worry is to identify fraudulent transactions. So how do they use data to predict which transaction is fraudulent? For example, in the middle of the night, there's a sum of 2 lakhs on your credit card swiped. Is that a fraudulent transaction or not? Mostly it is, right? But there are more sophisticated ways to go about it. And predictive analytics is again operations research. Now, you all know what a scatter plot is, right? So on the x-axis is how much money I should invest in TV marketing of my product. And on my y-axis, it shows me how much growth in sales I can have if I invest so much in my TV marketing, right? Now, this is simple linear regression, what I'm trying to explain here. What I'm trying to do is I look at all my historical data. So I go to a company and say 20 years ago until now, give me all the data on how much you spent on TV marketing and how well your sales were realized, right? And once I do that, I plot each point, each time when you invested in TV marketing. Once I do that, what I'm telling my computer is, can you draw a straight line that minimizes the distance from each of that point, each of the points there, right? So now you see that's an operations research model, right? Your objective function is to minimize the distance to determine the coefficients a and b in the equation y is equal to a plus bx, which is the equation of that straight line, right? Now, once your computer can do that, you have the equation a plus bx. Now, tomorrow, if as a company, I want to understand if I put in $1 million, how much growth in sales can I see? It's very simple. A plus bx. Put x as $1 million, see what the y value is. That's your predictive model, right? That is so simple. But this is the simplest model which no one in this world uses, right? There are way more sophisticated techniques, and that's something I pursued in my master's. Okay, now, great. I completed my 2 semesters, and it's time for job search. It's a nightmare, no matter which university you're from. And I personally sent 200 applications. I landed 10 to 15 interviews. Some of them went until, a lot of them went until final rounds, and I got rejected. And I thought I was going into that job. I could imagine myself getting promoted, and finally I get a reject. And finally, fortunately, I got 2 offers, out of which I picked one, which was McKinsey. Now, my interview experience, a lot of it was behavioral. As I said, I think I already stressed on that. Teamwork, leadership, when did you fail, things like that. And then you had case interviews. So that goes back to more of the operations consulting part, which is the problem solving, where the interviewer goes like, okay, your client is a marketing firm and they have seen declining profits. What are you going to do about it? And that's where you start. And then they keep on giving you more and more charts and analysis as you proceed. If they're not giving you charts and analysis, that means you screwed up. But that's how it works, and yeah. And then if you are applying for a technical position, you have a lot of technical questions as well. Okay, so conclusion, keep up to date with the latest. As I said again, I think I'll reset that. Newspaper, blogs, see what's happening. Like right now, predictive analytics is a big thing. It's being applied in every field, so check it out if it's there in your field. And be willing to learn new skills, especially data science. I realized that we are not taught enough of data analysis skills. I mean, think about it. Any industry right now, you're not going and sitting next to the machine, but you have computers sitting next to the machine that records data. And all you have is data. And if you don't know how to use pivot tables or VLOOKUPs in Excel, oh, you should be really worried. So go online, sign up for online courses, learn Excel, learn SQL if you can. It's a next step. And if you can learn R, that's the name of the language, the letter R. There's nothing like it. Learn it. And be willing to change your field of study, right? I've seen people who change from like manufacturing to finance, or healthcare to engineering, or vice versa. So be ready to change, see what's out there. Don't just, try to widen your horizon and see what can be possible by learning different things. And network, use LinkedIn, use your alumni network. Just pick up the phone and call and say that, hey, I want to know more. Or just send emails out, I want to understand how do you do this, and things like that. Aim big, think big. As I said, you'll find a lot of people who will say, Acha, tumko milega admission, kaisa milega? No, things like that. Or you'll find these education consulting groups saying that, I think all these universities you're applying to is ambitious. Maybe you will, because each application is $100 and you lose a lot of money. Whatever. If you believe in yourself, just do what you feel like and be very confident, think big. And yeah, and have the right dosage of working hard and working smart. Like, what I mean is that if I only studied for a good GPA, I don't think I would have such an impressive profile. I went on to Georgia Tech's website, I understood what's happening now in that institute, what's happening, what's the latest research, and I took the right moves. So yeah, both of them complement each other, but both of them are required. And you don't need any extraordinary powers. 2 years, 3 years ago, I was just like you all. And I'm enticing you to stay inspired. Thank you. You can reach out to me anytime. All right. We'll open up to questions.
Hi.
Hi.
You mentioned that in your class there were a lot of people who already had job experience. So would you recommend job experience before going for an MS?
It's a great question. Depends on what kind of job you get, right? So I have friends who, I'm sorry, okay, I'm not going to take the names of the companies, but I've had friends who went to companies and said that I didn't need an engineering degree to do this job. And also what happens is that a lot of my friends who have work experience, who are proud of it, have actually found that to be a trouble sometimes. So for example, I applied for entry-level positions, right? Because I had no work experience. But people who have work experience couldn't apply to entry-level positions because they had work experience. They had to apply for the +1 level position. And now the competition only gets harder. So you need to be careful about that. If you get a really good job in India, I'd say take it. And if you like it, if you think you're passionate about it, if that's what you want, if it'll let you do what you want to do, go ahead and take it. And if you ever decide to do a master's, go for that. That's my advice. Anyone else? Ma'am, looks like we can back up. No. Okay, go ahead.
Actually, I was confused about your major here and MBA, because there are some subjects that overlap with what people say that they are taught in MBA courses.
Right.
Could you explain the difference between getting an MBA degree and getting an MIS?
Yeah, that's a great question. So here's the thing. So problem solving has moved to a new level where you need to have a technical expertise apart from just the problem solving skill, right? So I'll tell you an example. So operations consulting was a 1-year course for us, and our client was an online grocer. You order online, they deliver groceries next day, and they had a lot of complaints, customer complaints, like the eggs are broken, the apples are bruised, you know, and that was our job to help them reduce the complaints. Now, how would you go about it? Because the person on the other side said that the client said, you want to speak to the chief marketing officer, you want to speak to the customer care people, you want to speak to you want to do on-site studies, you want data, I'll give everything you ask for. Where do you start? And that's something, that's where you need a problem solving approach, a problem structuring approach, which we learn through the operations consulting class, which you will learn in an MBA also. But once we figured out what the problem was that if you ordered 20 items, and those 20 items needed to go into 3 different boxes, like cartons, for delivery, there was no logic being applied to which item would go into which box. For example, the watermelon was going with the eggs in the same box, and during transportation and movement, the watermelon would damage the eggs. So how do we come up with the logic? Guess what? We are operations research experts. So we can come up with an operations research algorithm that will assign items to boxes in such a way that the risk of items damaging each other is minimized. It was a little hard because this was a very complicated problem, and we had to code this in MATLAB and use several different plugins and then do a business case out of it based on how many complaints you can reduce if there was a logic, and if there wasn't a logic being applied to assignments of items. And then finally presenting it to our client, and they loved it. So if an MBA was doing it, he would find an easy route out. I'm not insulting them, but maybe I'm going to do one MBA soon. But I feel that in an MBA, you're going to learn more of how do you lead a company? What do you do when there's crisis? Like, say, the recent Maruti union crisis happened, right? Where the union killed people. How do you handle those kind of situations? What are managerial negotiations? Those are more stressed upon in MBAs. Versus my program stresses more about how do you solve those problems with your technical knowledge at the end of it. But you still need both. I hope I answered your question.
Good evening. You gave us a few examples of career switches from a certain field to another. So, my general perception at this, since I'm in third year college, is that once you pass out in a certain field, you'd probably do a job in that field. And because of that job experience, you'd probably end up with an MS in that field. So, could you please give us some examples of switches and how that's possible?
Sure. So I can go back to the slide. Remember the slide where I showed you how there are different subtopics of industrial engineering? There was health systems in there, right? And what I studied here was more of production and manufacturing. It's completely different. But if I had a good story, that, you know, health system actually got me passionate. And then I did some side projects, and I try to integrate what I already know with what I'm learning some new, right? So I cannot tell you clear examples of what you can do with your life and what kind of career switch you can make. But if you're passionate about something, what I'm saying is you keep on exploring. And if you like something, if you think that drives you more than what you're doing now, do a project or take an initiative to do something that kind of bridges the gap, that kind of says that I want to make the switch. That's my advice. I hope, I don't know if that's clear enough, but that's all I have to say. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you enlighten us about how you went about funding your MS education?
Okay, that's a great question. I didn't have financially any problems, but I took a loan from my dad, and I have to pay him back every penny. But a lot of my friends take loans from banks, and they pay it back because you make way more money compared to what you spend as tuition.
What about scholarships and grants if there are?
Yeah, that's so financial aid is mostly given to American citizens. International students get very less of financial aid, or you can get financial aid in certain universities which are not so great. But that's up to you. If you think that that university is still good enough for me, and I can excel, I could work hard, sure, why not? It's definitely an option, but the grants and financial aid to international students is very, very less, and even if it exists for students from countries in which are, you know, more of the underprivileged side, not rich countries, I mean, moderately rich countries like India. There.
So basically, I'm in my fourth semester right now. And
Just take the mic, everyone can hear you.
hello. So I'm in my fourth semester right now. When would you suggest is the best time to start studying for GRE or GMAT?
I would say you're in your fourth semester.
Second year, yeah.
Second year. So you should start studying for it in the winter vacation.
Winter, so
Yeah.
December this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And try to give it by Jan or Feb. I mean, that's just doing it early because it gives you more room and more time to kind of work on your statement of purpose and letters of recommendation, because those matter a lot. Yeah. Oh, and if anyone has to leave, feel free. Any other questions? I expected a lot of questions. Okay, this is way better.
Can you tell us how you prepared for your GMAT or GRE?
How I prepared? Well, that's a good question. So I went to Princeton Review, and they had a couple of classes, and they had some very good material. So I would recommend going for Princeton, Manhattan. There's quite some institutions that give you good GRE coaching and TOEFL coaching. So. Yeah, go for it.
While doing your research for searching for universities abroad, did you come across universities in countries other than the US?
That's a great question. So the question is, did I look at any universities other than the US? No, I did not, because my field, US was way better than to European countries. But I have a lot of friends who went to European universities because their research, say, in glass manufacturing, car manufacturing, were way better compared to American universities. So, no, please be open to selecting universities. With that being said, also be aware that the job opportunities in Europe right now are not too, the economy is not flourishing, so it's a little hard. But that's just another parameter to keep in mind. But if you're an amazing student at an amazing university, you have no worries.
There's a craze about internships during the holidays.
Okay.
Would you say that doing an internship in the holidays is the most efficient way of using your holidays?
That's a good question. Aren't you? What semester are you in?
Fourth semester.
Fourth semester. Oh yeah. Okay. So if you were in sixth semester, you had to do an internship, right? Yeah. Okay. So fourth semester. All right. Now it depends, right? If that internship can give you quite some experience, a great learning experience that you can be proud of. If not, then or for me, in my case, I had an opportunity to go to Mahindra to do an internship versus work on my system dynamics project. Both were amazing opportunities, but I was more passionate about this. I took it. So it's up to you, but don't do nothing, right? Just do something. Okay, was it helpful? Yes. Alright, good. Alright, so I want to thank Veena Mabin ma'am for organizing this. It wouldn't have been possible without her, so please a round of applause for her. Alright, so I'll hang around here for a bit. If you have any questions, feel free to come and ask. Thanks. Bye.
Before the formal vote of thanks, I request Professor K.J. Kamath to hand over a small token of appreciation.
Hello everyone, I, Soumya Mishra, on behalf of Manipal Institute of Technology, would like to express a deep sense of appreciation for you coming out and guiding us to how to apply abroad and sharing with us your findings and opinions. The enthusiasm shown by you will help all your fellow college mates, they'll inspire each and every one of us. And also an event like this cannot happen overnight. A sincere thanks to all the faculty members and organizers for organizing this event. I thank you all for being with here this evening. It was a great pleasure. Thank you.